Hello and welcome to another recap episode of the Father and Son Pastime podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's my dad. Dad, another baseball season has come and go. I love 2025. I thought we just got done with the playoffs and the World Series. That was entertaining as all hell. We're going to recap March through November, technically, for you people. The final Game 7 did go through November 1st. Our goal is like 35 minutes to recap some highlights, some lowlights, some over-under predictions, a bunch of things like that. So without further ado, Dad, you want to talk about the playoffs? You want to talk about the Dodgers? What would you like to talk about?
I thought the playoffs were probably the most exciting it's been in a long, long time. And, the teams that were in, there were some new teams that added some, energy to, the playoffs. A lot went to Game 5, and then, of course, Game 7. I thought it was one of the best World Series in a very long time. And I read just the other day that it had the highest ratings for Game 7 of all, the World Series games in the past, 20 years, whatever. And they said that 3 countries put into that data, Japan, Canada, and America, which was another first to have that high of viewership in 3 different countries.
I love the international aspect of our game. I love that we kind of put to bed the rust versus rest debate because we have teams that played full Game 7 and Dodgers had rest and they still had a Game 7. So no one had really an advantage there. I thought just the 2 best teams, honestly, in both divisions got to the World Series and gave us a World Series to remember. Whether you love the Dodgers or hate the Dodgers, anyone that repeats in sports is incredibly difficult. There's 30 teams to replicate that with changing contracts and injuries and all kind of things. That's super impressive. So all credit due to the Dodgers. And Ed, I think we might want to start on them for over-under predictions. And then, obviously, your team, especially if it didn't make the playoffs, we'll get to. We want to touch on all 30 teams. Maybe their record, maybe the storyline, maybe they're trading, maybe they're disappointed you, maybe they had a surprise turn of events and made the playoffs or something, like the Reds. So we'll get to all those teams.
I was pro-Red, by the way.
We both were. I have in my notes, Dad, that we said bet on Tito.
Yeah.
Obviously, Terry Francona paid off. He took his team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Didn't do well, but still had a really great run, I suppose, to make the playoffs.
Step for the Reds.
And beat out the Mets. We'll get into all of it, Dad.
Okay.
Let's start with the West. Despite winning the World Series, Dad, the Dodgers did disappoint in one area, and that was their over-under total. They hit massively on their under. They were a 103.5 line. We both took the over like some suckers. We don't know the West at all. We're going to get into that. 4 out of the 5 NL West teams we got wrong on our over-under predictions, but we were massively wrong about the Dodgers, even though we did both pick them to win the World Series over the Red Sox back in March. So they were like a roller coaster for us.
Yeah.
They let us down, but they didn't let us down, but they still came through, but not in the way we thought.
Yeah.
Any other things to add about the Dodgers?
They got healthy at the right time. They went through peaks and valleys this year that they were, searching for some pitching along the way. They had, people in their lineup out for a while, but then all of a sudden at the end of the season they started to gel, and that's when they really took off, and they got some momentum. But I tell you, the Dodgers have some big-time stars on their team. And when it came to game 6 and 7, those stars came out.
And all credit to the World Series MVP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Early preseason, if you want to get way back into it, I took him as a NL Cy Young. That's not going to pan out. But God almighty, the World Series MVP, it really was like a torch passing. As Clayton Kershaw retires, the best pitcher in Dodgers history, really does put it right to Yamamoto to kind of take over. To me, he's the ace. I think it's, even though Snell has 2 Cy Youngs and Glasnow, if he was ever healthy, probably would win a Cy Young. They're the 2 and 3. Yamamoto is my opening day starter come 2026 if I'm the LA Dodgers. And it's no question.
The great thing about it was, as they recap the stories, here he is, he pitched in the 18-inning game, and then, he's saying that, I'm okay, and they said, you need some rest. He goes, no, I'm okay, and he goes out there, and he's in the bullpen. The last couple pitches he threw were upper 90s, and people couldn't believe he could throw that hard coming off the start that he had before. So apparently, the money they spent for him was well worth it. They got the title.
Dad, let's move on to another team before our anti-Dodgers fans turn us off. We both thought we were big on the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
They were an 86.5 line. We both took the over. I actually put money and lost money on this team. They didn't make the playoffs. They sold out all their stars. I'm not trying to give away what we're going to do on Thanksgiving, but I'm really worried about this team moving forward. Just a complete letdown in Arizona this year.
You know what? They got off to that tough start, and then all of a sudden their key pitchers that they counted on started having, the Gallons of the world and everything else. They started having bad years. And, Gallon gave up unbelievable home runs. So all of a sudden, their pitchers that they wanted, and the Kellys, they wanted to be, the great pitchers, had off years, and then they just started sliding. And in that division, if you slide, you're not going to make up that ground.
When I put the bet on them, it was Burns, Gallon, and Kelly. And Burns gets injured. Gallon does stay with the team. Kelly gets traded. But God almighty, talk about what I thought was one of the best 1-2-3 starters in baseball. I think might have had 15 wins between the three of them.
Yeah, losing Burns was key.
Losing Burns really was key for their demise.
Yeah.
What we got also wrong in the division, if we just swap these, we would have been better. San Diego Padres had an 85.5 line. We both talked these guys up like they were dogs. Ain't no way they're making the playoffs. You said Manny Machado was going to get in fights with his teammates. That was, we really overhyped the Diamondbacks and completely counted out the Padres, who made the playoffs. So that's 3 in a row, Dad, that we got wrong in our over-under.
Credit their deadline moves. They made some nice trades at the deadline that pushed them up in those standings. They were floundering a little bit, but credit to the GM making great trades again, and their bullpen was outstanding this year.
And then they added to it. I mean, to give up your number one prospect for a closer, to me, is always bonkers. But now Mason Miller's going to be there for at least 3 to 4 more years. Hopefully as long as possible, because I'm sure DeVries is going to do well in Sacramento or Vegas by the time he gets there.
Threw 104 against the Cubs. 104. Can you imagine throwing a baseball 104 miles an hour?
No, I cannot. The best I did was 72. Dad, we split on the Giants and Rockies. So both of these, one of us got right, one of us got wrong. So we leave the West 1-5, pretty terrible. The Giants barely made me happy. They were an 80.5 line, and I think their total wins were 81 and 81, if I recall.
You're right there.
Fun fact about the Giants: they are the definition of mid. They are average. They've been a 500. If you take 2020 to now, they have a 500 record for 5 years straight.
Yeah.
If I'm Buster Posey, I'm very worried about what this team does, because you just can't stay in the middle, because that means you're kind of competing. You're not completely, restarting and rehauling your team and just going through a rebuild, and you're not going to the playoffs or doing really well.
Yeah. They were in first place for a while.
And then they weren't. But the Giants, Dad, I had right. You had under. What's, a half a game. The Rockies, I thought. Well, if you have anything to say more about the Giants.
No, but I just think that they, the trade they made with the Red Sox, we'll talk about more after Thanksgiving. Did it help or hurt them? Big question. So after that trade, they went a little bit of a slump, I thought.
I don't think it benefited them.
Yeah.
Maybe it will benefit them in years to come. Because they do have some offensive power on this team now. But they didn't give up that much. They just have to pay Devers forever, basically. But it didn't make them a playoff team.
Right. And that's what they were hoping for, was
a
star.
Sure.
Yeah.
At least he played first base for them. Dad, I cannot believe how bad the Rockies were this year. The line was 58.5, and I said, surely Colorado will win 60 games. You said, I think that was your patented quote there. You said, Dad, they'll be the laughing stock of the National League, and you call that perfectly.
Yeah. 43 and 119.
How do you come back from that?
And they just got hammered. Why would you pitch for Colorado?
Yeah.
So I think they're in trouble for a long time.
Me too.
It could be one. They do. People come out to the ballpark. It's a great ballpark and all that, but you're like, are they one of the people that may move eventually? Who don't know.
I don't know. Beautiful ballpark, though.
Yeah, it is.
Dad, we don't know the NL West. I'm going to stick with the AL we're going to stay in the West. We're going to go to the AL here. But we really do know the AL West. We're going to see a lot better rates of return, right? We got a lot more correct out here. We both called the Astros, Dad, not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was a little risky. They were favored to win the West, make the playoffs again. They were 87.5 line. We both took the under. If we go back to, God, I want to say almost 2 prediction shows or 2 recap shows ago, I said I will always take the Astros to be in the LCS until they're not, and then I'm off of them. Like they're cold. Yeah. They didn't make the LCS last year. They didn't make the ALCS last year, and I said nope. They're gonna go down for a little while.
Yeah.
So we'll see what their offseason's like. We'll get to that obviously after our lovely Thanksgiving show. But yeah, this is a very worrisome because we saw another powerhouse come out of the West, almost go to the World Series, really by one game.
Yeah.
And it was the best postseason, arguably the best Seattle Mariners team ever, even though that's weird because I know they had 119 wins one year. But the Seattle Mariners, we both had the over. They were at 84.5 games team. We both took the over. We got that right. But yeah, that was so heartbreaking for Seattle fans.
I think, if you think about it, everybody roots for the underdog. They were the pure underdog coming out and, haven't been in World Series and, I don't think in the history of the ball club.
That's correct.
And, for them to get that close, they had a quality team. And they got a lot of young pitching. I think that they're good for the future, make some moves in the offseason, but I like the Mariners, and I thought they did well in the postseason.
Yeah, it was an impressive run. It was just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a Mariners fan or a Mariners player, you see how close Toronto was to winning. You got to right. I mean, it really is inches, and same for some of those Seattle-Toronto games that may get forgotten as we look at some of this amazing World Series games. But the Blue Jays and the Mariners, I think, had the best ALCS in a long time, too. That's going to probably get overshadowed.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, the Rangers let us down kind of massively. They were an 85.5 win team. We both took the over. This is one of the few that... This is the only one you got wrong in the entire division. I got one other one that will come up in a second. But yeah, the Rangers just let us both down. I really don't know what's happening in Texas. They have a lot of talent. They had some really good pitching this year, but they didn't do anything with it. They just kind of floundered.
Yeah, being 500 and everything. And it seemed like the manager, just left at the end of the season. I don't know if they have some internal type of issues, whatever. But it's interesting. That talented a team to go 500, something's not clicking.
A lot of money, too.
Oh, a lot of money. Yeah.
Dad, we called the not City Athletics. I was going to say like Oakland for a second. Sacramento. They just go by the Athletics. In the first year in Sacramento, we took the over of 71.5. We both got that right. They still traded at the deadline. They still gave away some pieces like Mason Miller. But they're going to win Rookie of the Year. Nick Kurtz. I was thinking of Jacob Wilson and Nick Kurtz had a baby, I guess. But Nick Kurtz is one of the now top 5, top 6 first basemen in the game. Hopefully he can repeat that, but just didn't play the full season. Was a midseason call up. Yeah. Jacob Wilson played the whole season.
He was drafted last summer. Yeah.
And Nick Kurtz comes in and just says, nope, it's my award.
Yeah.
And he's going to win it probably unanimously.
Yeah. And Athletics have a nice young team. And, to win 76 games is a step up for the A's.
Speaking of a step down,
let's
look at the last place team in that division. What could be perennial last place team, the Los Angeles Angels. The goddamn Angels. They had a 71.5 line. They had 72 wins. I put money on them, and my dad got it right, and I got it wrong. Another silly little half game. Angels and Giants. Very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this team has been either 72-90 or 70-92 for 4 seasons straight. I don't know how to fix that. You're not rock bottom bad. You're paying Anthony Rendon to sit in a wheelchair somewhere for $35 million a year. Sorry if that was insensitive to anybody, but he just doesn't play, and it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
I don't know. This team almost has to. This is the final year of Rendon's contract coming up. I feel like they have to eat this last year, and maybe they can compete.
I think they just give him a check.
But then they miss Trout's prime. Like, you could make an argument he's already out of it.
Well, they had an article in one of the magazines just this week saying about, Trout, he's going to be the forgotten superstar. At one point, he was the best player in the game. Now he's not even mentioned. So his career is just, not bottomed out, but he's not in the top tier of players anymore. And here's a guy at one point thought, he's next Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he just because playing on a terrible team, he didn't get any recognition. He's not in the playoffs, so people forgot about him. Yep. He's become the forgotten man.
Dad, you used a word here that I'm not really sure how to spell, but I wanted to quote you. You said the Angels will be a skosh over 71.5 games. And if 72 wins isn't a skosh, feel free. If that's in the dictionary, I'm not really positive. Use it in a sentence. Skosh over 71.5.
It's a nice word. I've used it many times in my life.
Just
a little bit.
I tried to send it out in my notes. I looked like Scoot, like Scooter maybe, Scooch.
Scooch.
But yeah. we went with that. I might have a scotch after this. Who knows? But Dad, you got that one right.
Yeah.
Dad, I feel like I'm hyping you up, so let's tear you down.
Don't let me get too happy.
The NL Central. Dad, you bet against your Cubbies. You called them they're going to be despicable this year. They make the playoffs. They win a series.
Yeah.
They hit their over. I took that. They were 85.5 over. I took that. I even said they won't win the Central, but the Brewers will, and you'll get second. And my dad's like, no way that they hit that over and don't win the Central. That's just not possible.
Half of it right.
So I surprisingly know your team better this year, which is very rare for either of us to know the opposite teams better.
Yeah.
But Dad, what are all the good things that happened in Chicago?
You know what? They got a really good young nucleus. They're defensively, they're outstanding. Nico Horner had a great year. He might be like the unsung player in the National League. Hit close to 300. Unbelievable defense at second base. They did everything with Tucker missing probably 30 to 40 games. So they came around and people came out and they had just great years. Matt Shaw came around and had a pretty good rookie year. But PCA, nobody could have predicted what PCA did this year. And he's going to be a star. And defensively, it's unbelievable what he does day in and day out. So between, their bullpen that was very good and their defense, that's kind of like made them, a very good team. 22 games over 500. Mm-hmm. So even though they had some disappointments between the starting rotation and, Tucker being hurt so much, they played pretty well. So they should be proud of themselves. God knows how the Brewers do it every year, but they got a nice little club too. Mm-hmm. But, people in Chicago were very happy that the Cubs did as well as they did.
Speaking of the Brewers, we did both take the over. It was my highest bet of the entire, preseason that they would hit their 83.5 win over. I got that money in like August, Dad. They had 97 wins in the season. Obviously had a really good playoff run until they hit the Dodgers.
Cubs wore them out.
Maybe, but they won their first playoff series in a good amount of years.
Yeah. They have a very good manager.
They have a great manager who's honestly a little weird. His managerial style is different.
Patrick Murphy.
Pat Murphy,
Can't get any closer to your name.
He keeps pancakes in his pocket, people. That's a real thing. Look it up.
He does. That's his snack.
He's different.
Yeah.
He openly mocks his players. Whatever works.
Yeah.
Brewers and Cubs should be a fun rival moving forward because the rest of these, and the Reds will be our little, we'll see. But the Pirates and the Cardinals won't be. Dad, we bet on Tito. The Reds did make the playoffs barely. Mm-hmm. They had a 78.5 win prediction. They went that by 4 or 5 games probably.
83 wins they came out with.
5. All right, cool. Yeah. 4 or 5 wins. There's already rumors of possibly trade for this team. I don't want to get into it yet. I hope this team stays together because I saw a really good young nucleus that just needs some better hitters.
Yeah, athletically they're very good.
Yeah. Young too.
Yeah, they need some pitching, but they got a couple pitchers at top rotation. They're very good.
Yeah, and then Chase Burns made his debut this year, as did Jacob Mizorowski. The NL Central's pitching is wild. You have Skeens, Bubba Chandler, same team by the way, even though they're the worst team in the Central. And then you have Chase Burns, you have Hunter Green, you have Jacob Mizorowski, you have Freddie Peralta. You have really great pitchers. And now the Cubs don't really have any pitching. We'll go into that in a couple weeks, folks. Dad, the Pirates, for some silly reason, you bet on the Pirates.
I thought they had a young nucleus, and I thought with all that pitching they had,
The owner never wants them to win. You know this.
I know that, but I'm just saying, if you look at them on paper, the first three starters are exceptional. They just don't have any offense.
If the Pirates owner invested $3 in this team, it'd be Frontline News.
I know. Great stadium, by the way.
I took their under as a 77.5 under. Win under, and they went below that. I think they just hit 71. 71 wins. Yeah. Until I see something worth like investments from the team, I don't believe in this team.
They're talking, there's even rumors out there, that entertain offers for Skeens, and I was like, holy cow.
Don't do that.
I know that, but I'm just saying they're not going to afford him in a couple years. Can you imagine his contract?
Try to build something around him in the next 3-4 years. Then.
Yeah, we'll see.
Dad, we emphatically took the under for St. Louis, and we were wrong. St. Louis performed okay. Who knows what their future will be like? They were a 76.5 line team. They won 78 games. They didn't really do anything in the offseason. I don't recall them doing anything major at the trade deadline. They were a very forgotten team that got old fast. I don't know what their future holds, but they were not impressive, and they really don't merit that much of our time.
I agree. They have a very good shortstop, but other than that, they just have trouble scoring runs, and everything's mediocre on that team. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that's exceptional outside their shortstop.
The AL Central, Dad, was not exciting until it was. That September between Cleveland and Detroit that nobody saw coming except this guy who put money on the Guardians. And then he doubled down mid-season when they were like, do you want to cash out for $1.20? I'm like, no, I'm going to reinvest. Cleveland's making the playoffs. And they did.
What a stretch run. What, they lose one game in the last 20, something like that?
It was crazy. And then obviously they ran into juice in the playoffs, and that's fine. They still made it. We both did take the over. 82.5. They make it. They hit the over. They squeak into the playoffs. They almost ousted the Tigers, both if some other things happen in the AL and maybe, that series gets played differently. I hope everything settles and they can move on from Clase and Ortiz.
Yeah.
2 players are just now gone from the roster forever. Hope Jose Ramirez gets to see a title at some point.
He's a player.
Still one of the most underrated, players in baseball.
Oh, I agree. And what about the Tigers' collapse? They had a heck of a lead.
Yeah. So we both, we'll go right to the Tigers. Tigers were 83.5. We both thought that was a little silly of a line. We took the over. We were right. Tarek Skubal, probably will be your AL Cy Young. There'll be some, he won't win it unanimously. There'll be some, votes for Crochet. They had a lot of offense. They had some clicking. I think they should have invested and traded better at the deadline. They just got all these, aging pitchers and then released Charlie Morton. And, it was not a good deadline.
I was going to say Charlie Morton.
Well, I think they coasted. I think they had such a lead at July 31st. Yeah. They're like, we don't need to do a lot of investments on our team. Let's just do around the, periphery.
Yep.
And they
Insurance
almost missed.
Policies.
They almost missed.
Yeah.
Dad, the Twins. I am so excited to talk about the Twins. Just like the Guardians, I bet on the Twins to not even get close to their over. They're an 84.5 win prediction, a.k.a. to win the Central, based off those numbers. No way did I believe that. I said in March, this team gets picked apart at the deadline. Good God, was that a garage sale? I thought I host really good yard sales. Nothing like Minnesota. Minnesota got rid of everyone with an expiring contract. Correa to get rid of some money. And some controllable relievers that were good for your team. But the right price, the right offer came through, and they said, you know what? I guess I don't need a front door at this garage sale. I'll sell that too. What a summer. Minnesota's going to be bad for a while. I'd bet race to the bottom between them and the White Sox next year.
They'll do a touch better than, or a skosh better than the White Sox. But the Twins are probably one of the most disappointing teams in the majors, and they sold, everything they had. The fans must have said, why go out there and go to the ballpark and everything? Because, the Twins religiously were always in the hunt of a title. This year they just fell out, and apathy is really a big part of that franchise right now. Some of it has to do with the ownership. Some of it has to do with the TV contracts and all that. But they kind of just gave up, and it's a shame because that's a good baseball town.
Only 10 wins separated the Twins and the White Sox by the end of the year. Just saying, that's catchable.
Yeah.
Dad, let's quickly talk about the Royals. Royals are very similar to the Cardinals. What's going on in Missouri? We both took the over. We were wrong. They did not get 83.5 wins. They were real close at 82. But this team just didn't do enough at the deadline. Jack Caglione did not make a miraculous debut. They had to let Hunter Renfroe go. They never had that big bat moment. Cole Reagans was on the IL most of the year. They just never had a good month, it felt like. They never had consistency. And for that reason, they didn't make the playoffs.
Bobby Witt and then a drop-off.
Yeah. Miguel Garcia, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Third base.
But yeah. Dad, the White Sox, we took the under. There was a 53.5 line, and we said, hell no. This is the worst team in baseball last year. Somehow, this team won 60 games, and it was a lot due to promotions of their prospects. Kyle Teal from Boston, Colson Montgomery, their new shortstop. I wouldn't say this team ever clicked, but they won like 20 games more than they did last year. That's a big jump.
Yeah.
If and when the White Sox invest in their team again, with the holes, maybe this team gets to 70 next year. We'll see, but Reinsdorf is giving it up. Maybe there is hope for the White Sox. I just don't know if that hope's in Chicago.
I just think some of the trades they made to trade away anybody who was good has now come back, and they're starting to fill in the holes that they had. They got a pretty young, exciting team. So the future, is looking up. So we'll see what happens this year. But I think they're just going to push the kids along and promote them. So yeah.
Since we're not an East Coast bias podcast, we're doing the East last, folks. So the NL East, Dad, we did not buy the hype train on the Braves with Strider and Acuna coming back late in the season. They had a 93.5 win total. We said, no. They won't get there. The Braves' disappointment this season. I don't know if I would have taken that bet. No Astros, no Braves in the playoffs. That's a wild bet.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. For the first time in 8 years? I don't know. It's been a while since neither of those teams have not made the playoffs.
They got off to a horrendous start, and they never recovered. Yeah, never recovered.
The Phillies, Dad, very interested to see what actually happens in the future with the Phillies. They may have missed their window. I had the over here. You had the under. You thought the window would be collapsing a little earlier. 91.5. Obviously, they win the East, 96 wins. Yeah. They don't have a great playoff openly, but they do run into the buzzsaw of the Dodgers. So I guess you can't blame them fully there. Be an interesting team to watch in the offseason, and I hope that Zach Wheeler is able to make a full recovery from his injury.
They didn't hit in the playoffs.
No, they did not. That was also the case, when they made the World Series a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Like all their big hitters just didn't show up.
Yeah, that was surprising.
The Mets, Dad, I got faked out on the Mets. Sorry, you got faked out on the Mets. I'm sorry, we read the wrong categories. You were on the Soto train, 90.5 wins.
Oh, yeah.
You were like, let's go Mets, LGM. And I said, I don't think so. There's still a lot of questions with pitching. I was right. This team folded, completely fell apart. Just wheels came off. They hit the under. I got that right. You didn't. The East was really on my favor with a lot of over and unders. Maybe I am a little biased. Dad, what's going on in New York? What's going on in Queens?
You know what? I think, again, it seems like there's a lot of superstars, and, all of a sudden they didn't start clicking. And don't forget, their pitching wasn't the best either. So along the way, they went through some really tough slumps. And, if you read the reports from the reporters up there, it said they never got to be a real good defensive team or offensive team. They just kind of went along, and they went into some long losing streaks and then back and forth. But they said they just never got good.
Mm-hmm. That's super fair.
Yeah.
I do remember this team being very streaky with wins and losses.
Yeah.
Dad, I think I was just looking at the final standings. If you offered me on March 18th, hey, would you bet $10? This pays off $2,000, because that's probably what it would be if you told me it would go Phillies, Mets, Marlins, Braves, Nats. I would keep my $10, openly. That's wild. The Marlins came in third. That they had a 63.5 line. We took the under. I took the money on that. We saw them live in April. Miami clicked.
Yeah.
Miami got it together. They had some rookies, both in the offensive, Jacob Marseille, and in some pitching, just really click. The Orioles and Marlins trade works out for both sides.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Stowers, all-star, like really, really good, like fantastic.
And if Norby didn't get hurt, he would have been right there.
Sure,
too,
I think both teams are really happy with the trade.
Yeah.
I would love to see Marlins ownership invest in this team now that they won 79 games, which is not that far away from a playoff team.
Yeah. 4 games away from the Mets.
Better than the Cardinals, better than the Braves, just to put that in perspective. So we get that wrong.
And a very low payroll.
Yeah. And we also thought our Nats, our local Nats, would invest in their team, invest in this youth, win more than 72.5 games. They did not. They were the worst in the division at 66 wins. Yeah. I don't know what the Lerner group is doing, but you have to invest in a team that has some superstars in the making, or you're going to miss your moment again.
I think when they fired the GM and manager, it just collapsed. And after that, they didn't have any leadership, and you could just tell that the players, just were going through the motions. They traded a lot of people at the deadline, but man, they were trying to get any fan they could to get to that ballpark. I mean, attendance was really bad in D.C.
The East was tough for you, Dad. You only got 1 out of the 5 right there with the under of the Braves. And it was just a little tough go of it. That's when we started to split in our little standings. Dad, in the AL East, the Yankees were supposed to win the division. They still did. We thought they weren't. We thought they'd be big losers. We thought it'd probably be the Red Sox. Sorry, I guess they tied for the division with the split and the Blue Jays. Sorry, Toronto fans. But they went. They're over 89.5. They had won 94 games. We thought they would go a little belly up. They did not. But let's actually talk about the Jays. I apologize. Let me back up. I did take the over on a 78.5 line. That's how nobody thought the Jays were going to make a playoffs, let alone the World Series, let alone a Game 7, almost win it. Dad, you didn't think that.
Well, you know what the key for them this year was? When they extended Guerrero.
I agree.
Extended Guerrero when they did. Yep. After that, they started to click. Because they knew that they invested in the future, and all of a sudden those guys who are role players, all of a sudden they got together and the momentum started to build, and all of a sudden they just shot up. They skyrocketed in the division, and all of a sudden that was the key, was the ownership said, I believe in you guys. And all of a sudden, I mean, some of those guys were role players that had fantastic years.
They made great trades. They got some really good bullpen pieces, one from the Twins, one from the Orioles, and they were able to go. I don't know if Bichette's role and his injury would have changed anything. He did play in the World Series. He didn't play anywhere else. Trey is savage. I mean, that guy went from single A, we all know the story by now, right? He went from single A, his first pitch was in front of 300 people, his first start in single A, and then now he's pitching in front of, a sold-out Rogers Center in the World Series, being streamed by 30 million people in 3 different countries.
Yeah.
A lot changed for that young man, and I can't wait till he gets his actual contract. He shared what he made throughout his minor league journey to the majors. He made a collective $54,000. Not a lot of money. I'm sure endorsements are coming his way, and I'm sure a full year season salary.
And the check from the World Series.
Well, yeah, but they didn't win.
Right, but they get the loser's pot, which is not too shabby.
Sure, but that gets divvied up and all that stuff. Right. But he might have made more than that than his salary. Bonus versus salary. But yeah.
Even in the draft last year, he wasn't thought of. I mean, he was selected 20th, 21st. A lot of teams passed on him because they didn't think his arm was in great shape. He pitched that much at East Carolina. So the Blue Jays were so happy to have him there. And boy, was that a great pick. But a lot of teams passed on him.
To go back to the Yankees real quick, I know in a way I'm going to probably make both fan bases mad because I skipped around. There was a time where it didn't look like the Yankees were going to make the playoffs. I mean, they were getting just their ass kicked by the Red Sox. I think they were 9-4, or the Red Sox were 9-4 against them in the regular season. But they had a really good September. The Red Sox had a middling September. Dad, who do you think becomes? When we talked about the Mariners, we didn't talk about Cal Raleigh 60 home runs.
Oh yeah.
Who do you think wins MVP? That has not been announced yet as the recording of this podcast. For the AL, Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge?
I think it's Aaron Judge.
I think it is too. I think some of that average
Yeah,
Yeah.
and being in from New York.
I think just stats alone, I think
Yeah.
I lean Aaron. I think the OPS is bigger there too.
Yeah.
Um,
And he carried that team. Let's face it.
I think both did, to be
Yeah.
fully honest.
Yeah.
If you remove either person from the team, neither makes the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
But Cal Raleigh's now a household name. Aaron Judge was, so still a big win for Seattle, even if he gets MVP too. Then I guess we'll go to the Red Sox next. We did get their over. They did win enough games. They won 89 games. They were thought to win 86.5. We both took the over. I got some money there. But they kind of had a disappointing, in your out type of wild card series.
Yeah.
Lost to the Yankees. Dominated them all season. But here comes a rookie pitcher, Cam Schlittler, and just slits up Boston. Very impressive performance.
Yeah, he did pitch well.
If he, I think if the Yankees beat the Blue Jays, I think we would have been talking about Cam Schlittler versus Trey Savage. But here we are. Dice roll how they rolled.
And he was a Red Sox fan.
He was. But what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
The Orioles, Dad. Another disappointing teams.
Great prediction on this guy's part.
I said they'd come in fifth. I said this live in front of students at the university I work for, and I got booed in Baltimore. 87.5 line. I took money against it. I was on this. They're not a sound team, and they weren't. 75 wins total. We both took the under. Just
total collapse of pitching. They didn't have any reliable starters.
It was their offseason. I mean,
I agree. They lost the offseason.
This is a team that you always say baseball's not won on paper, and I agree. But I look at the team that I see my rosters and all that stuff, and I go, this is not going to be a playoff pitching staff.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah,
they're putting Band-Aids up there and hoping for the best. But they had guys 40 years old being in their rotation.
Charlie Martin.
You just can't do that. Right. I mean, you just can't go through a season banking on these guys. And then a couple of their starters, got injured. And then they had people coming back, but they didn't come back to September. The whole season was not good.
Yeah.
And, the fan base didn't show up. And all of a sudden they got into that really bad early season. I think in April and May they were horrendous. And they just couldn't catch up. They couldn't make any momentum.
They couldn't dig themselves out of the hole. If you look at June 1st, the end of the season, the Orioles and the Cubs had the same record. So again, one's a playoff team, one's not. But the Cubs had a great start. So, and remember that a year ago, the Rays, I think, won the first 10 straight games and they made the playoffs? Because that's such an advantage.
Detroit, same thing.
Yeah.
Detroit had a great first half.
If you can start off kind of hot, you can coast a little bit.
Yeah.
It almost didn't work out for Detroit, but they were banking on those wins. They had pocketed them for that time.
Yeah.
Dad, the last team to discuss is the team that didn't have a stadium this year. The Tampa Bay Rays, 81.5. You took the over. I took the under. I got that right. The Rays, Dad, just kind of were a forgotten team. Nothing too special about them. They just let Pete Fairbanks go. Thought that was interesting. But this team just also never had any kind of consistency or stardom.
No stars.
No stars.
And that's the whole thing. And they just, the things that used to get them to the top of the division, pitching and defense, timely hitting, they probably didn't get any of those. So to me, that the Rays, I think next year, if they don't improve, they're looking at they might slide down a spot. So
it'll be fun to watch. Dad, we have done 3 over/under predictions on this show. Year 1, I got right. Year 2, he got right. We did $30 a year. So, we kind of net neutral. Year 3, game of 3 right here, 3-game series. Dad, the final score, you had 13 out of 30.
That's not good.
And I had 18 out of our 30. I won. It was our biggest differential in our 2 years. I'll get him change, folks. But yeah, this is always really fun to watch, and it's fun to check things off as you go.
Yeah.
I was checking off the Brewers in August, and I was literally watching the Giants and the Angels to the very last game. Even if you got those right, though, it would have been 16-15. So at least it would have been closer.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got that one right. So we split that anyways. So I would have still.
Yeah. I mean, there were still some really good surprises this year, and I'm glad that we had the newer teams in the playoffs and they made name for themselves. It's great for baseball to have this, and I think it was great to have Toronto in the World Series. So you had 2 different countries involved. I'm just so proud of Toronto and the fight they did with the Dodgers. Everyone thought the Dodgers were going to walk away with the World Series, but Toronto were inches away from becoming World Series champs. That catch in the left center wall, that if that dropped in, that's the game. So I mean, those are moments you'll live in my mind for a long time. But credit Toronto for having a great season.
And I know we talk about, over-under and gambling. If you are an MLB ball player, do not take our gambling advice, all right? Luis Ortiz and Emmanuel Clase are facing jail time. So please do not bet if you are a professional athlete, and just enjoy your checks and your salary.
This is for fun discussions only.
Yes. But, Dad, this is a great little recap of 2025. Like you said, one of the best World Series I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Great overall season. Both our teams made the playoffs. That was fun. We get to be right on a lot of things, which is always good too.
Yeah.
And then our favorite show, people, in a couple weeks, we do predictions of free agents, of trades, of off-season, just conspiracies at this point, off-season predictions, the day after Thanksgiving, and I try to upload them kind of like during Cyber Week, so one a day so you can kind of stay with it. And they're really, really fun. I think it's 6 or 7 episodes in total. And we are almost at our 150th episode.
Wow.
All time. So for our small but true following and faithful, we do appreciate you, especially if you just watched 41 minutes of a recap of a season that you watched yourself.
Yeah, that's great. 150 episodes. That's fantastic.
This is 149.
Unbelievable. And that'd be a great thing, for day for Thanksgiving. Favorite day of the year. And it's a long day. We're here from 9 o'clock in the morning till dinner time.
We see the sunset.
Yeah. So it's always been fun. I don't know how many years we've been doing this with the day after Thanksgiving. It started in the living room of our house, just talking. And just, I think, over a kitchen table, talking about where people are going to go.
And we got these right. We should really record ourselves.
And then that's how it spun out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how the father and son pastime came to be.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you for watching. Again, if you're not following us and you watched 42 minutes, please subscribe to us. Leave us a comment, like this video. Follow us on social media. We are at Pastime Podcast _ on Twitter and Instagram. And, of course, we're the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on YouTube and Facebook. Dad, close us out for 2025.
It was a great year, and I'm so happy for the teams that made the playoffs. You made a very exciting year. Great ratings for the playoffs. And I really think if you weren't a baseball fan and you watched the World Series, you became a baseball fan.
With that, we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoyed this podcast. See you soon.